want to teach entrepreneurs just to give people what they're going to get anyway and let them make a decision. You'll build your community and the people who want to work with you and your style, and you'll protect your own energy. Because if you're taking on clients that can't deal with you, that's stressful for you, and all money ain't good money.
Let's talk tails. Do you know your superpower? My guest today on Tales with Taylor can figure out yours after just a small assessment. It's the founder of Freedom Empire Consulting and is a nationally recognized behavioral superpowers coach, speaker, and author. Since 1995, she has been in leadership roles helping individuals and organizations increase clarity, confidence, and communication using science-backed behavioral insights. She is the architect of the B.E.H.A.V.E philosophy and creator of the Behavioral SWOT matrix, a revolutionary tool for strategic self-awareness and team alignment. Through her vibrant coaching workshops and keynote talks, she empowers leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers to operate in their zone of genius and build high-performing super teams. Whether on stage or in strategic sessions, she brings bold energy, visionary thinking, and a deep commitment to transformation. So get ready for a fun and educational episode with the one, the only, I wish I could do a drum roll like you could, Kenyatta Turner.
Yeah. Oh my God, that sounds so good.
Well, you are amazing, obviously. You are the superhero detecting other people's superpowers. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm listening to you and I'm like, I want to meet this person.
Right?
Who is this?
She's phenomenal. She's truly a phenomenal woman that everyone's going to want to meet in person by the end of this.
I need to have you just follow me around and like introduce me everywhere.
I would love that. I really do love emceeing. It's so much fun for me. But especially when someone is just so fun as you and just so good at everything you do. Now, the tale of how we first got connected was actually you were with Legal Shield, and Legal Shield was your, kind of primary business. So, tell me the tale on how you first got connected with Legal Shield. And for those who maybe aren't aware, what is Legal Shield?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background before Legal Shield, I ran colleges. So I was the director of every department at a school, and that was my career for 20 plus years, right? So corporate. And colleges, people oftentimes don't think of as like a corporate environment, but it is, okay? So I grew up in corporate, did that till about the age of 39. And there's a reason why I left at the age of 39. But when I decided to leave that industry and start a business, Legal Shield was the first business I got introduced to. And it made sense to me. So I just jumped right in, like with 2 feet. And I actually went to a networking meeting. My mom invited me to a networking meeting. I did not know what networking meetings were, because if I had a jobby job, why would I be at networking meetings? Right. And I worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So I had no idea what networking was. My mom invited me to a meeting, introduced me to a woman named Donna. And Donna said to me, hey, you should check out.
Is this Donna Metter?
Yeah, Donna Metter.
Make sure you take a look at her episode.
Donna Metter. So she came up to me at the meeting after I stood up and said, hey, my name's Kenyatta. I just quit my job of 20 plus years and I don't really know what I'm doing. Anyone have any ideas? Donna came up to me. She's like, we should talk. So she introduced me to it. It's so funny because she said something about lawyers. And I was like, I don't need any lawyers. What do I look like? I need lawyers? I don't know. I wasn't interested in the idea of lawyers, but I didn't understand what she was talking about. But I liked her. And I'm like, you're cool. Like, we should just talk because I like you. I don't know what you're talking about, but I like you. But then when she told me what Legal Shield was, which is basically the ability to call an attorney and then get access to legal advice, consultation, document review, all the things that you need for a subscription fee, basically like Netflix for lawyers, that made sense to me. And I realized not only did I need it, I thought everybody needed it, because most people don't use lawyers only because they can't afford them, not because they don't think they need to use them.
Oh, yeah. You always kind of have that visualization. The second you call the lawyer, they turn on the ticker.
Which they do.
Yeah. It's intimidating, especially as a new business owner. Yes. But a lot of new business owners really need that legal documentations and reviews.
All the things they can't afford. Yeah. So it's a system that's designed not in a helpful manner, quite honestly, but Legal Shield makes it helpful because you just pay a low monthly fee, could be $100 a month, but you get access to lawyers all over the country for every area of law. So it's kind of unheard of, and most people don't even know about it. So when I heard about it, I'm like, how come I didn't know about this? Anyway, joined Legal Shield, and I'm still a Legal Shield associate. So it's been 11 years.
Wow.
And I'm Legal Shield for life. I've helped over, I don't know, probably 1,200 people get access to the services, individuals or companies. And yeah, I would never be without it. And I'm grateful for Donna for introducing it to me all those years ago.
And the fact that you still have it as a part of your arsenal of tools that you offer just shows the value and how good of a company it really is. Because you definitely could have jumped ship and left it if there was something that was a red flag.
Absolutely. There were none. I mean, the company's been around since 1972. So it's older than me. I'm born in 75. So it's been around a long time. There's millions of people who use it. And I think like their retention rate of people keeping the membership is like 85%.
Yeah.
That's huge for a subscription-based thing that you can cancel at any time. So why would people keep it? Well, it's because it works if you use it. Yeah. And it's affordable. And it's affordable. So, get Legal Shield if you don't have it. Call me.
Yes, and we'll make sure that we have all of your links in the show notes so people can connect with you. But, beyond just Legal Shield, you've kind of transitioned a bit into this full, freedom empire consulting. So first, tell me the tale behind the name. What made you choose this name for your business?
Oh, my goodness. So when I left my job of all those years, and let me say the reason why I left, because that's really important. So my father passed away when he was 39 years old. That's very young. But when I was 16, when he passed, I thought that was old. Because to a 16-year-old, 39 is old, right? Yep. It's like you can't even see that far in the future. I didn't think I'd even live to be 39 years old. That's how old it felt to me. So after, working in colleges, and the time went by like this, because I worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week, So at 18, I started working at B.E.H.A.V.E. My dad actually went to school there too. So the time went by really quick, and I literally woke up one day about 6 weeks before my 39th birthday, and it just dawned on me, wait, you're 39. Wasn't your dad 39? Wait a minute. So I didn't even realize I'd gotten there, and here I was there. And it was that whole moment and scenario was a catalyst moment for me. It was a moment of recognition of where I was in my life and where he maybe was in his life, and the fact that that's all he got. I felt like I had so much left to do. And my life was ahead of me in this way. There's no guarantees, but I felt like, well, if I'm still here, if I even make it to 39 or 40, that will be more than he got. So like, what would he have done if he'd had more time? I started asking myself those questions. Now, I had a very successful job working in colleges. Again, director of admissions, career service, student services, all the things. But I was helping people build their empires. That's how I viewed it. I made those colleges a lot of money because I was good at what I did. And they were all for-profit colleges, right? So I did my job very well. And I helped a lot of people grow in their careers, graduate from college. I was helping all these other people. And I realized I wanted to help people in like my own way. I felt like I learned enough to know that I had more to give, and I wanted more autonomy to give it. But I didn't know what that meant, right? So I started thinking about it. And as I realized, okay, well, maybe you need to go work for a nonprofit colleges, or maybe you need to go work for a state college, or maybe I need to leave that for-profit environment and that energy. I was thinking, and I was in the process of really thinking about getting my doctorate degree in educational leadership at that time. And I probably could have had a campus president job in like a year if I wanted it. So I started weighing all those things. And if you're listening to this, and you are listening because I know you are, if you're thinking about what it is you really want, like think deep about that, because that's what I had to do and make a decision. Was I going to continue to go down the road of being in this industry for another 20 years? Or was I going to go find out what else could possibly be out there for me? And once the thought got in my head, it didn't leave. So I realized I had to quit. That's literally what I did. Like, wow. I don't recommend you just go quit your job without another job lined up. No, I'm not saying that to anyone ever, but that's what I did because I was compelled and I couldn't focus anymore because the idea of what was out there was too distracting, and I couldn't focus at my job anymore because I was like, What if I did leave? What if I started my own business? What if I built my own empire? That's the answer to that. That's what I started thinking. I'm building everyone else's empire. What if I built my own? People do this all the time, right?
Yeah. What kind of freedom could that bring?
What kind of freedom? And so ultimately I wound up calling my mom. And my mom passed just about not even a month ago. So I'm in it right now. Lots of different things I'm feeling in these moments, trying to process this. But I called my mom and I said, Mom, I think I need to quit my job and start a business. And she's like, well, it's about time.
Oh, wow.
That's
You're
what she
an
told me.
amazing woman.
That's what she said. I'm like, wait, what? And I was driving on the freeway crying, thinking about the idea that I thought I was going to have to quit my job. And I didn't know what that meant. I was mortified. And I called her and I'm crying on the phone. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just crying. And she's like, pull over. Stop, And I'm like, oh, okay. And I pull over and she's like, what is going on? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just having all these feelings, these thoughts. I know I'm built for more. I think I need to quit my job and I make a lot of money. I got like a great 6-figure job, but I work 60, 70, 80 hours a week and I've helped all these people, but I just feel like I got to get out of here. And if I get more time than Dad got, what am I going to do with that time that he didn't get? This I call it my extra innings. I'm like, if I get extra, I will not squander 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 day, 1 year beyond 39, if I make it, because I hadn't turned 39 yet. But that was what I told myself in my brain. So when I told her, I think I need to quit, she's like, well, it's about time. She's like, I always knew you were built for way more than that. She's like, you've helped those companies, these people build what they were building, maybe it's time you build yours. And she's like, then do it. Don't talk about it, do it. And I'm like, that's not what you expect your mom to say when you call and say you're going to quit your job.
Wasn't what my mom said. My mom said, what are you talking about? You're quitting your job. It's better to work for the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
And my mom, having not had a job since she was 16, it makes sense that's what she would say, right? And my dad always had a job. So it's like I followed his path first. Corporate, work for the
Well, that's
system.
kind of what we were told. Depending on what generation you grew up in, you were told you go to school, you get hired by a job, you stay loyal to that job, you get your pension from that job.
And I did all of that. I had 2 degrees. I had a computer information systems degree and a master's degree. Again, I was poised to get a doctorate degree and be a campus president. You know what I mean? Like that's everything I've been working for.
Doing the track.
And all of a sudden I was like, like it was mortifying. But she supported me. And then it was ultimately her who called me up 6 weeks after and said, what are you doing today? After I quit. She's like, what are you doing? I'm all on the couch. I don't know. Quit my job. I don't know what I'm doing. And she's like, come to this networking meeting with me. It was called WISC, Women I Should Know. That was the name of the meeting that she was going to. For 15 years, my mom was a member of WISC. But back to the name. So then I left, told my boss, Kevin, hey, I'm out of here. And he's like, what are you talking about? Kevin and I worked together he'd known me since I was 18. We worked together. You were joking.
He thought it was an early.
He thought I was joking. He's like, what? We worked together so many times over the years in different ways. He's really was my mentor in that corporate space. I don't know where I'd be without him, but I had to quit on him technically because I was literally working for him at that time. And I was like, I got to go. And I remember he goes, so what are you going to go do? And I said, I'm going to go build my empire. And he's all, what the hell does that mean? And I'm like, I don't know, but I got to go do it. I don't know what it meant because I didn't know what it meant, but that was in my brain.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wound up leaving after I turned, because it was in my head. I had my 39th birthday. And so that was April 5th. I turned 39. By like May 12th or something, I was gone. I quit. Like I gave him like a 3-week notice or something. And I'm like, I'm out of here. So then I go to Legal Shield. Right? Because 6 weeks later or so, I get introduced to Legal Shield and I join. And we were at some event and there was a book written by Brian. Why can't I name his last name now? Brian. I should know his last name. It's eluding me. Anyway, I go to the back of the table and there's a book. And it said, Building Your Empire. And I was all, oh my God, this is meant to be. Right? And it was a book about how to build a network marketing business called Building Your Empire. Right. And I read the book and I followed the things that he did and all that. And I did have built an empire with Legal Shield. I hit the ground running. But I thought that was, not an accident. Right? And so I was like, oh, interesting. And then when it was time to name my business, I was going through it, trying to figure out, and I was trying to work with the name Empire because that was stuck in my brain.
Yeah.
And then a person on my team, my legal show team, she knew I was trying to come up with a name. And she goes, you should just call it Freedom Empire because you're always talking about freedom. I want to do freedom to do what I want, when I want, as long as I want, blah, blah, blah. You're always talking about freedom. And I'm like, oh, Freedom Empire. And then that was it. That's a long...
That's lovely.
It's a long story to tell you how I got to the name, but that's really how it came about.
That is an excellent story. And wow, your mom sounds like she was just a phenomenal person. Just so supportive and so just insightful.
Powerful. She's powerful.
Mm-hmm. And it's just fabulous.
Powerful entrepreneur in her own right. Built her own empire here in this city. She's a legend. And House of B.E.H.A.V.E was the name of her company, and she was fashion. So this is hers.
No wonder you look fabulous all the time. Like literally, I've never seen you and not like want to compliment some aspect of what you're wearing.
So like, every time. Yeah, she made lots of different things, but she called these snap wraps. So there's no two that are alike. Okay. And she says snap wrap because you can change your look in a snap. So you can put it on like this. I can wear it as a belt. I can wear it as a head wrap. I can wear it as like whatever. Yeah. Like you can change them around. And so she sold those, did fashion shows. I mean, she's always just been fashion, incense, jewelry, fragrances. That was really her thing. Just building with the community on the board for CAS for 25, 26 years. I don't even know how many years. I mean, she just was a powerful influencer in her own right, behavioral influencer specifically. That's her style. But I learned a lot from her that I didn't even realize I was learning. Yeah. Because she's your mom, right? You know, it's your mom. It's like, they're your mom. But now that she's gone, it's interesting the things that occur to me. So I'm like, oh, you got that from her. Like she taught you that, right? Even directly or indirectly, right? And as I speak to all the people who are reaching out now that she is passed, I'm really understanding the magnitude that this woman had in this particular community that I knew it, but you don't know it. Yeah. Because you're in it, you know, but now it's very different now. So
now it's more of a reflection period.
It is. So the Freedom Empire is truly, and I believe it to be a state of mind. I think that's really why the name stuck with me so much, is that it's a state of mind around building the thing that only you can build, right? And freedom is different for everyone. So I used to do I'll probably start doing it again, a thing I do on Fridays where I do Freedom Friday quote. And so I find all these different quotes around the word freedom, because I find that so many people look at that word very differently, and there's so many contexts to it. And I'm always fascinated about how people view this word. So I would find a quote every Friday, and then I would get online and talk about, or have people come on and talk about what the quote like meant to them. But it's a state of mind that means like you get to build it. And freedom is different for everyone. And I also truly believe that we have freedoms that we don't believe we have, because our thought process is someone else is doing the shackling of us, but it's really us. Like we put more shackles on ourselves than other people or systems actually ever do.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we're our own worst critics, and the roadblocks that we will put in our minds that aren't actual reality roadblocks. Yeah, it's so true. I talk about it with my kids all the time about how mindset is the biggest strength. If you just have the mindset that you can do something. The number of times I said, I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm like, yeah, you're not, because you already said
you're not. You
already set yourself up for failure. We need to have the mindset that yes, I can. And it's just amazing. You could see a physical shift when they then take a deep breath. I can do this.
Oh, great.
And then they're like,
and then they do it.
And then you do it.
then they do it.
And then they feel super confident. They're like, man, I said I could do it. I did it. It's like, and then even if you don't, it's just you go at it differently when you have that correct mindset. Yeah.
And the freedom mindset is what I want people to have. Is like, don't lock yourself up. Right. You know what I mean? So really think about that, before you think you can't. I mean, again, you can shackle yourself, or you can just break the chains. Right. So I don't know. Anyway.
And so something else about your brand is that I really love the whole kind of comic feel to it. And so, tell me the tale behind, doing a little bit of that superhero branding.
God. So I love like comic books and superheroes and all the things, right? Like I'm a Marvel girl, not DC, Marvel. So,
I like Batman.
you know, I mean, but then there's Batman. So there's he's like the one that like I'll let cross over.
Okay, good.
You know
So
what I'm
like,
saying?
really, in reality, if we were looking at all this, like Bruce Wayne could be the actual like realistic superhero.
Seriously. And when it comes to Batman, Michael Keaton.
Oh, 100.
Like Michael
100.
Keaton.
Michael Keaton. That's it.
Okay.
Kids,
Michael Keaton.
Look it up.
So, don't be messing around. You know what I'm saying? But I love all that stuff, right? I love the X-Men. I love me. So I'm like,
I used to love X-Men
I'm,
too.
you know, superhero girl, all the things. Oh my God, Storm. Like, and the stories, if you think about it, the superheroes, we love them because we love the idea that there's something special about us. And we like seeing that these superheroes have something special about them that makes us somehow look up to them in some sort of way. Like, oh, that's cool. They can do this. They can do that. And they always have a story. Yeah. They always have an arc. They always have a situation that the thing about their superpower, usually they didn't choose it. It was either born within them or they got bit by a spider, you know, and something happened. So it's like, it's a story that everyone can identify with. And I remember as a kid watching the X-Men a lot. They were powerful stories, even though they were in cartoon form. Like I just identified with the lessons that these stories taught about friendship and collaboration and, you know, good versus evil. Like it was just deeper than just cartoons to me. And I identify with that from a very, very young age. So when I was thinking about my brand and what I thought was cool, like I want it to be like comic books. Like I want people to see the thing within them that they may not see or they do see and they try to squash it.
Well, it's like with the X-Men example, they're you know, mutants. It was, you know, it was kind of like, oh, they're bad. They have to go to special school.
Right.
You know? But it's really their mutations or issues are really what made them so powerful.
Made them so powerful. And then Professor X said, hey, well, let me help you learn how to channel that. Yeah. So it doesn't destroy you or anyone else. And like, so if I use, let's say, Cyclops as an example.
That's just
a great example. So, you know, dude opens his eyes up and, you know, red beams come out. He can't help that. So he can be a helpful scenario if you need something, you know, cut in half with lasers. Yeah. Or he could kill you, you know, and that's being inconvenient. So Professor X is like, okay, well, you can't change that thing about you. So let's make it work for you. And here's some cool little glasses you can put on and you can make them open and close when you need to. Yeah. Simple fix, right? Yeah. You know? But it took someone else to help him see that, right? It took a coach. It took someone else to see and show him that he was still beautiful and amazing in all his glory. But he just needed to understand it and understand how to not let it destroy him. So that's how I feel about what I do for people.
You're the beautiful full-haired Professor
I'm the full hair, yes, I'm got hair, you know, Professor X. So I feel that. And so the comic book thing, as I thought about my brand and what was fun for me, I was like, well, I like comic books and I like, you know, halftone and pop art and, you know, I'm very creative, you know, myself. And I'm like, I want something that just looks cool. I don't want it to look lame and boring, like in corporate. That's not who I am anyway. And so I actually made that logo in Canva.
Nice.
like 8 years ago or 7 years ago or something. I was like, well, I need a logo and I'm going to go in here. And I knew I wanted a speech bubbly thing, but I made it. And all these years, I keep thinking I'm going to have like someone redo it and make it, I don't know how people make logos these days. I don't know. But then I kind of like it. So I just leave it. And the colors, purple and red, are my favorite. Purple's my favorite, obviously. And I love purple and red together, even though sometimes people say purple and red don't go together. And I'm like, you don't go together. That's what I tell people when they said that. So yeah, I just kind of roll with it. And then it made sense.
Yeah. And psychologically, I think it makes sense too, because purple is a real, you know, royalty. We always think of like royalty like colors. And then with the red, you know, it's either a warning or it's independence. Red stands for independence. And so I do feel that, you know, psychologically, those colors work really well, that you are gaining your own independence through freedom, you know, Empire Consulting and then the purple aspects, the little royal feeling of it all. Just, I like it a lot.
Powerful. It felt powerful to me as I was creating it. Yeah. And I was like, all right, this is what you're going to do.
And so in addition to just creating the business, you've also created different programs and assessments. So talk to me a little bit. You know, I know one of them I had the pleasure of taking, which we'll have a link on the show notes. So make sure you look at the bottom of the show notes and a link to take this assessment. This assessment was so cool. Like, you know, I'm a gal who enjoys the quiz here and there. I like seeing what Disney princess I am from time to time.
Right.
In addition to that,
That's so funny.
this assessment was deep. Like, I was shocked. It's one of those assessments that you're just, the Myers-Briggs, some of those that you're just like, dang, how did you get it so right?
Right.
And so can you talk to me a little bit about those assessments and the assessment that the audience can take advantage of?
Yeah. I forgot what link I gave you to give them. I'll talk about that. So October 2018, I said to my friend, you probably know who I said, Karen Joseph.
Okay.
Karen Joseph. Yeah. I said to Karen Joseph, hey, Karen, I want to be a speaker. I think it's time for me to branch out on my own and like be a speaker, And she's like, all right, cool. And that was it. We just had this conversation. 2 days later, right, she messages me and she's like, hey, I saw this thing on LinkedIn. They're looking for speakers for the 33rd annual Hispanic Women's Conference. And I was like, I'm not Hispanic. What? Why are you telling me? She goes, well, I think anyone can speak. Kenyatta, she goes, a woman's putting a thing out there. And I said, okay, let me go have a conversation with her. Tiffany Higgins is who I had a conversation with. And I wound up being chosen to speak at this conference. And I did a talk called Just Because You Have a Job Doesn't Mean You Know How to Get One. That was my talk. And I used to teach that at DeVry to my career development students. So I had a concept, a thought process around that. So I did this talk. And then I literally got hired right after that to do workshops for the Maricopa County Public Health, teaching that same kind of topic. So this was the end of 2018. Well, then right at the beginning of 2019, I got introduced to a person who worked for a company that gave me that assessment, right? The company was DreamSmart at the time, DreamSmart Academy at the time. We wound up changing the name of DreamSmart Behavioral Solutions. And so I took the assessment, same one I gave you, and it changed everything for me because of that data that I got. And I got coached on it very deeply as well. It taught me so much about who I was and what I was already built to do, and explained so many reasons why I'd done the things I had done, like why I got hired for certain jobs that I was brilliant at, and why certain things I hated and I was not good at and never seemed to be able to get good at, right? It explained all that. And I was like, well, this is interesting. And I said, well, I want to use this assessment with these workshops I'm going to do to help these women. They're all career professionals. And so I basically did a deeper dive into that conversation using that same assessment. It's 46 questions. It's 10 minutes long, but it gives a lifetime of data. And that can be used in so many different ways. But the thing that got me, and I saw it with these 25 women, so with a big bunch, I got to see it play out deeply. It's 97.1% accurate over the long term, meaning that doesn't change. Yeah. So your data, that doesn't change. But the 2.9% that we can't predict is when you just choose to make a different decision in the moment outside of your default, which is rare. Most people just behave in their default zone, right? Yeah. So if they choose to behave differently, that's a very rare thing. But you only go there for a moment and then you always go back to your default. So I got to see that play out with these 25 women over these workshops. And after the first workshop, I literally went out to the car, got in the car, turned the key in the ignition, and then started bawling like a baby. I didn't know why I was like ugly cry. Yeah. I didn't know what was going on. And I'm like, turn off the car. Like, what just happened? And so I'm pondering why I was so emotionally affected, not upset, but emotional in a way I couldn't control it. And two things occurred to me with this assessment in that moment, which coaching them. One, I think Mark Twain says there's 2 days that the two most important days are the day you're born and the day you find out why. So I realized in that moment, I felt that I just found out why, like what I was supposed to be doing. Freedom Empire, right? Like I hadn't built that yet. I was on the cusp of that. Oh man. I hadn't even named it yet. So it was so clear to me, oh, you have to do this. You just saw what happened in the 3 hours you spent with those 25 women who took this assessment. You just saw their eyes light up with awareness and self-love and understanding for themselves in a way that no one had ever shown them before. What does that mean? Like, what will you do with this? And that freaked me out like I realized there was no going back to whatever I've been doing before. That wasn't going to happen anymore. Like a line had been drawn, and it terrified me. And so that's part of the reason why I was crying. And then as I'm crying, thinking about that, like, oh my God, your life is never going to be the same. Are you ready for this? What are you going to do? You don't know anything about this. Like you had a job, like, what is this? And Legal Shield, this wasn't Legal Shield. I was still doing Legal Shield, but this was not Legal Shield. Okay. Mm-hmm. And my next thought was, they paid you for that. Oh my God, you got paid. That means you can get paid to do this.
Yeah.
And then I was really crying, like, oh my God, like, what does that look like? You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to build a business that people get, I'm thinking about Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey and, all these people and Mel Robbins and all these people that Legal Shield had sent to, speak for us. And I'm like, what does this mean? Am I in this world now?
Kenyatta Turner on the stage.
Exactly. And it was very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So that assessment, that kind of was the pivotal moment. And, this is what you're supposed to do. So then I was all in. And then I got locked in with the company and I started building this other company that was using the assessment for about 5 years. I was building that with them, using this tool in all kinds of ways. Like you couldn't stop me. I was just inventing things all the time about, we can use it here and here and here. And, this is the language and methodology. And I started certifying people to use it in the way that we taught it with the Behavioral Superpowers, the company who created the assessment, honor our, certification. Because they're like, by the time I went and got accredited by them, I'd already been using the assessment for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
And then I went and got accredited by the company who built it. And I'm sitting there in the training like, there's so many other ways that we can be using this thing. Like, can I do this with it? And they're like, yeah, do what you want, Yeah. So it was me really kind of taking it in a way that I felt like it could be used. I mean, other people had ideas about it, but I embodied something around it that here I am. Yeah. It's like years later and I'm still creating, right? I still haven't gotten anywhere near the infinite possibilities of what you can do when you teach people about themselves using behavioral data. Mm-hmm. I say I like to bring in objective behavioral data to either debunk or confirm your subjective viewpoints. Yes. And that's what I do. I just bring data and help people see it in a way. And I talk about behavioral superpowers and kryptonite, and I bring in the X-Men and the Hulk and all of that, Cyclops. I just make it all super cool and fun, even though the science is deep. I just make it fun.
Which is so important that you still have the science back. Because I think a lot of times you might think like, it's just woo-woo. It's horoscopes. It's the stars and the moon just saying, and it's not. So.
It is not. It's deep science. I just make it fun and make it relatable so I can use it with anyone from the age of 12 and up. And everyone, again, going back to the superheroes, everybody knows and understands that. Mm-hmm. They ask, right now, if you're watching this, someone's probably said to you, what's your superpower? Yeah. Or you've asked someone else what their superpower is. Or you're online in Canva or AI making superheroes of yourself. Yeah. Why do we do that? Why? Like, think about that. Like, think about why we do that. Then I just lean into that. Everybody wants to know what makes them special, and they want to live in that and be powerful. I just bring data to show them that they are, because sometimes they don't think they are. And I bring data to prove it and teach them how to lean into that. People talk about being authentic all the time. Yeah. It's like a buzzword. Be authentic. Just be authentic. But people usually don't understand what that really means for them because they think they are until someone says, be authentic. And they're like, well, wait, I am. And so they get confused, They really get confused. Or they view authenticity as they look at someone else. They compare it in that way. So with the behavioral data, I just say, hey, this is you. Like I told you, I'm like, this is the data. You can take it or leave it, Taylor, but here's what it says. You answer the questions, and you only have to take it one time in your whole life. So it's not about what you learn. It's about who you already are. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people have a hard time really seeing that or being able to articulate it. And I just come in and let them know what their behavioral superpowers are.
And so what's your superpower?
I'm an influencer. That's the name of my superpower. And that's the same one as yours. My mom was as well. So there's 10 behavioral styles. Influencer, if I think about the circle, so influencer, engager, community builder, relationship builder, adapter, stylish thinker, reflective thinker, strategist, and initiator. So those are the names of the 10. And just by the names, they're self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Right? Community builder, you can probably guess what they probably are like, right?
Right.
Initiator, you can probably guess what they're like. Strategist, so on and so forth. So as an influencer, you and I, we're at the top of that circle, halfway between relationships and results. And we're on the growth and the fast-paced side.
Yep.
So yeah, we don't play.
We're gonna get things done.
We're going to get things done, and we're going to have fun while we're doing it. And we're not afraid to talk to people about it. We're not afraid to be in front of the camera, in front of a microphone. Those things are very natural for us. But the word, I have to remind people, is not like social media influence at all.
Right.
Because I say that to people because I'm an outgoing, fast-paced influencer. So people are like, oh, so you have a social media. I'm like, I got like 4 followers. And I tell people, if you're watching this, go follow me on social and I'll have like 5.
You know? Just go do it. It's worth it.
You know? So it's not about social media influence. It's about what the word actually means. Because did you know that the word influence was around before social media?
Oh, yeah, most
crazy.
definitely.
I know. Some people are like,
Webster
what?
Dictionary has been around for quite some time.
Exactly, right? So it's actually what the word means, you know, and it's how you make decisions. It's how you communicate. It's what's important to you. It's how you show up in the world. So we would behave very differently than, let's say, a reflective thinker would. Because reflective thinker, think of the name, you know, they're much more usually reserved, and they definitely are process oriented, which you are as well. You've got that plan side to you. Yeah. However, reflective thinkers, they take it to another degree, you know, a whole other degree. And they need time to process, where you and I may make quick decisions depending on the situation, you know. But everyone has their own behavioral fingerprints. So even though you and I are both influencers, we're not exactly the same, because even our hands may look the same, right? We've got fingers and things like that.
Way gorgeous.
Oh.
I'm not showing my nails.
Hello. But what's different about us is our fingerprints, even though our hands may look the same, right? And so there's no 2 influencers are alike. Like me, you, and my mom, all influencers, we have our own fingerprint. So we have our own unique way about us. And I like to say that we be sitting at the influencer table, but in different chairs.
Right.
You know, because there's unique different things about us, but we are still part of the same influencer family.
And so would you say that depending on where you fit in the wheel, your way that you would run your business and your leadership style would change, and using the data that you provide, you could then help people maybe fill in the gaps of where their kryptonites are?
Absolutely, 100%. So once I invented this concept called the B.E.H.A.V.E, Behavioral SWOT. So if you know what a SWOT analysis is, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, people use that for probably since the 60s around. SWOT analysis has been a thing, a way for people to evaluate usually companies and products, right? What is the strengths of this product, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats? Well, I do that with people, and I do it with behavior. So after someone's taken the assessment, I do a behavioral SWOT analysis with them to show them, you know, based on their style, their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And from that, we can do a couple things. One, we can get a sense of, in their business, are they even doing a business that's in alignment behaviorally with who they are? Because they might not be, right? They may be doing a business that they just started a business, but the behavioral alignment piece is the key. So that's one thing we're going to look at, is if it's something that actually makes sense for who you are. Because again, you can do a business that's not in behavioral alignment, and you could probably be successful at it if you really wanted to. But something else is going to be off.
Right. You're not going to maybe feel as fulfilled, or something's just going to feel missing.
It's going to be missing, you know, and you may not even really understand what it is. You're basically essentially taking a square peg and grinding it into a round hole. It will go in there. But how much work is that going to take? It's bloody. It's splinters. It's a horrible thing. Yeah. But it's going to go in there.
You're not going to be passionately obsessed about what you're doing.
No, you're wondering why either you're not making money or why, you know, you hate sales or whatever, right? So there's so many different things. So that's one component, is the behavioral alignment of the actual business that you're doing. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners around that, because sometimes they do find that now I've helped them see why this particular business is not working. Right. And now they have a choice. It's keep going down that road, or look at the data that I've given you, because I give you literally your behavioral zone of genius. So you have it in front of you, and maybe you look at that list and go, oh, well, I should probably have a business doing these things that I'm already built to do, that I'm already good at, that I already love to do. Why don't I make money doing those things? So that's like a behavioral awakening moment. Another thing is how you brand your business. So I do behavioral branding with that same information. Again, this goes back to authenticity. everyone talks about like personal branding. Your business is your brand. Okay, which is true. But how do you, if you don't have clarity on what your like how you're wired and how you communicate naturally, and you're not leaning into that, then it's possible that your brand is not a true representation of you, not intentionally anyway. So I teach people, well, okay, as example, if I have a community builder who's extremely empathetic and focused on building relationships, that person, let's say they're an accountant, and then I have a strategist who's an accountant. They should not be using the same marketing language.
Right.
As accountants even. Like they may have some similarities because they're both doing accounting, but a community builder who's very empathetic and focused on relationships versus a strategist who's all about results and numbers and revenue, those are two different messages.
Yep.
So each one needs to be communicating their unique value proposition as an accountant in the lane that they behaviorally live in. So the community builder needs to lean into that and be like, I'm the type of accountant that builds community and is, builds relationships, and I'm extremely empathetic and
legacy,
and I'm going to come over and talk, and sit and pet your dog and, all these different things. And I'm going to, bring people together, consensus building and get everyone on board with blah, blah, blah. Where a strategist like, look, I'm objective. I'm results focused. Your numbers are going to be straight. I'm going to, the very different language.
We're going to talk taxes, how to mitigate that.
Yeah, and so the branding needs to match, because the right person will gravitate towards a strategist style because they know that's what they need, or they're a strategist, and so they respect that.
Yep.
Because if they need the strategist and they're hearing a message on social media, whatever, about this community stuff, they're going to be like, I'm not hiring
I need numbers. I just need numbers.
Why are they talking about what is, they're not going to resonate with that. And that's perfect.
Right.
They shouldn't. Now, here's why they shouldn't resonate with it. It's not for them. And if they went with the community builder style, knowing that's not for them, as soon as they start working with that person, they're going to be annoyed. So it's going to come out anyway, because even if the community builder wasn't promoting themselves as a community builder accountant, people are going to find out as soon as they talk to them the first time. They're going to get a sense of this energy, and either that's going to attract them or repel them. But I say give people a choice. So if you go to my social media or read or anything that I've done, you can probably guess real quick what you're going to get when you talk to me or work with me, because it's out there. Like I'm like, blah, and I let people know that. So if you can't handle blah, then don't call me, because that's what you're going to get.
Yep.
So I'm just like, I want to teach entrepreneurs just to give people what they're going to get anyway and let them make a decision. You'll build your community and the people who want to work with you and your style, and you'll protect your own energy. Because if you're taking on clients that can't deal with you, that's stressful for you, and all money ain't good money. So I'd rather work with people who love this and think that's cool and respectable and something that they want to engage with, versus coming to me thinking you're going to get something different and then being disappointed. And then you're stressing me out because you're no fun.
Right. Exactly.
Don't come to me if you're no fun, because I'm not interested. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love you, but hey, you know what I mean?
There's someone else for you. There's
Don't bring me down.
Someone else who is in a different, demeanor. There's enough business for everyone. Is
Please.
The thing. And everyone
Abundance.
has their different styles, and you want to connect with people who can best match.
Yes. That's just better for everyone. Like this concept that I'm talking about here it's creating something that's better for everyone. It's better for the person, the human who's building the business, who is trying to find their own peace, doing something that they love, that they want to make money with and build their family or their careers with. Everyone deserves the right to have a good way to go about that. But then also the consumer, the person who's going to work with someone, well, they want to work with someone that makes them feel good too. If we all just focused on that and finding a space to live in what you're comfortable with and fall in love with yourself in such a way that you can have what I call empathetic energy for other people. Meaning you don't have to be like them. You don't have to think like them. You don't have to agree with them. But if you're solid enough in your own state, it makes it so much easier to be empathetic with other people and understand where they could be coming from, even if it's not your frame of your lens. And they feel that energy. But if you're not okay with yourself first, then none of that works.
It's like a relationship. Like if you are broken and like you're not going to find the right relationship. Like you have to fix yourself, get centered in yourself, know who you truly are, what are your strengths, what are your kryptonites, and say it's okay.
And say it's
okay.
okay.
It's okay. Whatever the
answer is, it's okay. Fall in love with yourself, because the kryptonite's there as well.
Yeah.
And I say, and I'm glad you mentioned that again. I'll go back to that for a second. So we talked about the superpowers, right? So the superpowers in my world are the things that literally are what you're so built to do, that it is a strength, that if you sharpen that blade like that, you become unstoppable in that area, and you do it unlike anyone else can do it. And you need to lean into that as much as possible because you're already compelled to do it.
Right.
So do it. But I say a power overplayed can become a struggle, and a struggle unmanaged can become a weakness. That's a problem. Mm-hmm. If you can't control it, it becomes a problem. So superhero analogy coming. I use the Hulk for this one. This is a great one for the Hulk. And we already talked about Cyclops, but let's think about the Hulk for a second. So the Hulk, what is his power? What does he do?
He's super strong.
Super strong. And he smashes, right?
Yeah.
That's his thing. Super strong and he smashes. So the team says, Hulk, smash, right?
Yeah.
They call in. Think about a team. You got people in their different lanes. Don't get in Hulk's lane. That's his lane when things need to get smashed. So that's what he does. But he has to become this thing. He has to unleash the superpower in order to smash. And he can do that. The challenge is when it's time to stop smashing. Mm-hmm. So now we have a superpower being overplayed because it's time to stop, and he can't. So the struggle is that he can't do it on his own. And then now it's a weakness. Mm-hmm. So that power literally, after all the monsters have been smashed, it becomes a weakness for him.
And now it's just property damage.
Exactly. And they're like, stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now he's a liability, right? And think about that. It happens to us in our world. We become liabilities for ourselves.
Oh my gosh. In business, I think we're our biggest liability.
Yes.
We got to get out of our own way.
So he becomes a liability until the one chick, Black Widow, I think she comes around and she's like, the sun sets in the west or whatever. She does the thing to kind of like meditate, get him to lull him to calm down. And then he calms down and he goes back to Bruce Banner, and then miraculously his pants fit again.
I know.
Nobody understands these things
magic
about the world, but that's what happens. But he needed help. Mm-hmm. Just like Professor X helped Cyclops. Mm-hmm. He needs someone else to come in and help him do that. So that is his kryptonite. His kryptonite is when his power is overplayed and he can't control it. But, spoiler alert, there comes a point in the movies where he's sitting in a coffee shop, eating pancakes, signing autographs as the Hulk, with signing autographs for little children. And he's in Hulk form, eating pancakes, not enraged, smashing. He's acting normal. He's acting like Bruce Banner in the Hulk body.
Interesting.
That's interesting. So in my world, I'm like, oh, well, that's because he learned to unleash his superpowers. So in my world, the unleashing is when you understand them so deeply that you can control them, unleash them as necessary, but not let them become a weakness. Because now you know how to turn it on and off or live in both places at the same time. How beautiful is that? Yeah. If we could do that with ourselves, and fall in love with these things that are our strengths and not let them destroy us, right? We get to decide. So there's a part in the movie where Bruce Banner is standing there in the street and the monster's coming down out of the sky, because there's always a monster coming out of the sky. And Captain America is standing back, not doing anything other than going, Bruce, Hulk, smash, turn into the Hulk and smash. And Bruce Banner, or Dr. Banner's just looking at him and looking at the monster, and he's not doing anything. And everyone's panicking because this thing is coming, right? And they know he's the only one who can stop this monster from coming. So they're like, smash. And Bruce Banner doesn't do anything. And then finally, Captain America says, Bruce, get mad. Because that's the thing that makes him turn. Get mad. And Bruce Banner looks back over his shoulder at him and he goes, see, that's the secret. I'm always mad. And then he just turns, and at the last second, he instantly turns into the Hulk, smashes the monster. But that line, I'm always mad, that was key. In my mind, what I do, I'm like, that's what the thing is. Your behavioral superpower is always there. It's always lying there. It's your default. but whether you unleash it or not is the magic, right? So he's like, I'm always mad, but it doesn't mean I have to walk around like the Hulk all the time.
Right.
But I can turn it on when I need to. So me, I use the example of patience. I don't have any. I'm not wired for it. And my paperwork will show you there's no patience there, right? So I don't have patience, but because I understand that that's not a natural state of mind for me, I chose to learn how to turn it on when I needed it. Mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. Okay.
All right.
Over the last 7 years, that's what's caused me to where now I have people call me Zenyatta. Oh my God. They're like, Kenyatta, you're so patient with me. And I'm like, man, you got no idea.
This was hard.
Like what it took for you to even think that about me. Yeah. Right. But again, I feel like that impatience part of me, that very logical, very critical sometimes, that thing that makes me move the way I move, that's why people hire me. That's why I've got hired for jobs. That's why I have certain clients, because that is my superpower. But if I can't control it, then I'm too much of that.
Right. It's probably your clarity, your certainty, your quick start decision making.
It's where it comes from. It's where it comes from. But some clients or some people or certain situations can't handle all that energy, that Hulk energy, right? So I had to decide actually that was an area of personal growth and development for me. And I had to then figure out how to make it happen. Mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. Now I understand more clearly what those triggers are for me. I have methods to switch on the patience when I need to. Now it's so seamless. It's a part of me in a way, but that doesn't mean I'm a new person. It just means that's the 2.9% that I talked about.
That's your decision making.
That's me flexing. I call it flexing. That's me flexing in to what I am not in that moment with that person for that project. And then when I'm done, I go right back to where I was and I'm good. So the idea is that like you have to find some sort of intentional imbalance with yourself, because to flex in a space you're not for too long, you'll break. And that's the square peg round hole scenario. So I just need to have myself in situations where I can be who I need to be, but know at certain times with certain people, they may need something different from me. And I call that the platinum rule of behavioral communication. I made that up.
All right.
Which is treat other people how they want to be treated. Not the golden rule. If you're watching this right now, skip the golden rule.
Take note of that one. Take note of that, because I always live by the golden rule. So that was huge. Let's repeat that again.
Skip the golden rule. Okay. Throw it out the window. It's fundamentally flawed.
Okay.
I will say it out loud.
I know, yes.
So here's why the golden rule is fundamentally flawed. The golden rule says, treat others how you want to be treated. Basically, that's it. So here's why it's flawed. It's because it makes the assumption that everyone wants to be treated like you want to be treated.
And that we're the same, that we're wired the same, that the way I want to be rewarded is the way you want to be rewarded. But that is not reality.
Wrong.
Yeah.
It's not even right at all.
Yeah.
But that's what we're taught. And I believe that very concept right there is the reason why there's so much miscommunication and discourse in the world. Because everyone has this thought, well, I'm going to treat you how I want you to treat me. So if I'm treating you how I want to be treated and you're not coming on board with that, then something's wrong with you.
Right.
Because the way I want to be treated is the right way. Because why would it be any other way? Right? And so we make the assumption that everyone wants the same thing. So then our communication style, our decision-making style, we impose that on people, even subconsciously. And if we just even say as simple as a dinner happening at someone's house, and if someone shows up without a bottle of wine, when someone else at the house thinks that you never go to someone's house without bringing a bottle of wine, then there's a fight happening about that. Or people are whispering, can you believe so-and-so showed up and didn't bring a bottle of wine? And the only reason they think that is because they would bring a bottle of wine. So if someone else doesn't, that's an example of treat other people, how you want to be treated. So you would bring a bottle of wine to someone else's event, but in your mind, subconsciously, you think that if you were having the event, you would expect them to bring a bottle of wine. That's why you're bringing the wine. And so that's just one example, but imagine the discourse that happens with that very thing.
Yeah.
And so instead, maybe what about calling the person having the event going, hey, is there anything you need me to bring? Because maybe it isn't even wine.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bag of ice.
So I was just going to say ice. Ice is always the common thing.
You know what I mean? So, because that would be treating them how they wanted to be treated versus imposing this bottle of wine, But the idea is that the problem with the golden rule, again, is that it's fundamentally flawed because it makes the assumption that everyone wants to be treated the same. And it makes the assumption that the way you want to be treated is the correct way. So we move through the world that way. So the platinum behavior rule, in my mind, is treat others how they want to be treated. Yeah. And that's a lot harder to do because you got to figure out what they want. You got to ask questions. You have to listen. You have to pay attention. You actually have to maybe care.
Yes.
That's a whole thing right there. Because if you don't care about the other person and the situation, well, you're not going to take the time to really learn what it is that they need.
Or fully listen.
Because you're like, you just want to impose your own communication style. So when I teach behavioral communication, we spend so much time on this because there's 4 easy quadrants that we all are in. Take charge, patience, outgoing, and plan. So let's say you're in the take charge quadrant where you and I probably clearly live. And we are the person who's like, oh, this is what needs to be done. Okay, everyone just kind of make that happen. And we communicate in that way. But if we're communicating with the person who's in the patient quadrant, who's very about stability and tone and things like that, you and I probably have to flex to give them what they need. And we do that because we would need them to hear what we're trying to say. So we might have to rethink our approach. And like what Zig Ziglar says, give enough people what they want, you'll get what you want. This is the same concept right there, right? If I give the patient person what they need in that moment, chances are I can have them listen because they can hear me, but are they listening to me?
Right. And tone, I think, is so important too, because I know, just with, Eric, my husband, like we're very, very different. And sometimes I think because of my just quick start aggression, I'm just excited, I'll sometimes have a tone that I guess sounds angrier than I ever intended to sound. And so it's one of those things that you also need to get used to, not only listening to other people, like listen to how and reflect, like how are you actually sound? Like how does that person hear what I'm saying? I know what I'm saying. I'm just saying, hey, we got to get this done. Let's get it done.
But how is he perceiving it? How is that person perceiving it? So again, here's a great thing about that. It's on both sides, like all the sides, right? And this is where you learn to flex to give the other person what they need. So as an example, if you as a take charge person are dealing with someone who's on the patient side, you may, if you recognize this, because first off, you got to recognize it, you would say, okay, I know what I need to say, but I now need to say it in a way that this person can receive it. So I might need to change my tone. I may need to be more accommodating to their cooperative style in this moment. And so you can choose to flex to give them that. But they should also do the same thing going the other way. So for instance, if they're going to come to you with something, they should, if they're paying attention, they would know they need to already have certain things figured out. They need to just give you a couple little bullet points so you can make your decision because you're going to want to make the decision. And they should be prepared for that when they come to you in the first place because both sides can flex to the other. The challenge is we don't do that. And that's where the problem comes in. Or we take it personal. So the patient person may think, she's always like that with me, always rushing, trying to make blah, 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 where it has nothing to do with them. The reality is that a take charge person is like that with everybody.
Yes.
It's not personal, right? It's just their natural wiring. Yeah. So if you understand their natural wiring, that's their behavioral superpower because some people will come and hire you for that very thing. They're going to be like, oh, Taylor's going to come in and boom, boom, boom. And that's exactly what they want, right? So those who aren't in that same quadrant, they need to realize that it's not personal that you're that way. That is your superpower and that is how you're wired. The other part about it is that if you were to flex to give the other person what they need, sometimes people get in their feels about that. They're like, well, I don't want to. Why do I got to change? Because the golden rule says I shouldn't have to do that. So why do I need to change or whatever? Well, what was the saying? A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle, right? You don't lose anything by flexing to give someone else what they need. It's actually smarter. It's actually a huge leadership trait. And it's what you should be doing anyway. And if all of us did that, like in the whole world, if we all were just conscious about that, it would be a better place. Because I'd always be going, what does Taylor need right now? Okay, I know what I would probably give her, but is that really going to be effective?
Right.
But we don't think about that.
We're all just like water, just flowing and bending. And
And there's
water's a powerful force,
Yes,
but
it
it can
is.
go through cracks. It can get bent.
Absolutely. So we have to be open to that.
Yeah.
And if we are, then I just think that's where the beauty really comes from. But it's not easy, but it's totally possible. So I just bring data to help people see that. Because we all have a subjective viewpoint about it. We all think something. And we take all kinds of things to make us come up with our own ideas. Either we meditate about it, we've witnessed it, we've read about it, or whatever. And so we have our own ideas about how we should be moving and how others should be moving. And so I just bring another tool to put in the toolbox of, well, here's some more data to help you make up your decision about whatever it is the thing is, and it's everything from, again, communication to how you build your business, to your relationships, to how you go to the grocery store, to whether you make your bed or not. All that is behavioral, and it's all established at a very young age. So.
And you mentioned that, your programs can start as young as 12. So when is a good time for people to reach out to you?
12.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So for those parents out there,
Yes.
Who have children,
Yes.
but so from 12 on, so from 12, you're saying we can reach out to you if we're starting a business, thinking about starting a business, in a career, it sounds like.
Oh,
All
absolutely.
those different stages of life.
Absolutely. Thinking about high school students who are thinking about what careers that they're interested in, whether or not they should go to college.
Yeah.
By the way, everyone should not necessarily go to college. Like, that's just not a natural thing that we should just do just because.
No.
We
There's
used to
great
be told
trade
that.
schools too for certifications.
So-
You should get your certifications. You should get
Yeah.
trainings. There's definitely a benefit to learning and having exposure, but you don't need to go to.
It's not just
not everyone
hard and
needs to know
fast
history.
college. It's not. And and it's interesting. I worked in colleges for 20 years.
And you're like,
And I'm saying this. So I'm saying this from a lens of, I've been there, done that. I have 2 degrees myself.
yeah.
And I've seen what happens in college institutions. Now, I'm not picking on colleges. I'm just saying that open your mind. That's all I'm saying. Just open your mind and figure out what really makes sense for you and where you need to go to get the thing that makes sense for you. And that's where behavior comes in. You may take my assessment and realize that you should be doing something completely different than what you thought you should be doing, right? And that may not even need college to make that happen, right? So I'm just saying, don't, just open your mind to other opportunities to get to where you want to go. It is never usually just one thing anyway, right? So there's that. But high school students, yes. And at as young as age of 12, they can take the assessment and it's accurate. We have them take it one more time when they turn 18, just to check.
Right.
That's how the science is validated, because millions of people have taken this over the last 30 years, and it's validated in 125 countries and 11 different languages. Wow. So they've done this enough times with enough people and enough different scenarios and had many people retake it to see that it doesn't change.
Wow.
Right? Not enough to make a brand new human being because of it, right?
Yeah.
So the younger they take it, the better, because, and I have so much fun working with young kids with this, because it teaches them things about themselves that they've not been able to put words to. They don't understand why they're different than their sister or brother in certain areas, and so now they have language for that, and they can start leaning into it. And if you have that information and you have it about yourself, then you may stop trying to impose your thought patterns and decision-making styles on your child. Like there's something wrong with them. They need to be like you. They know they don't. You need to know how they are and teach them to grow in that. Right. But that's a difficult thing because, again, we often think that the way we do it is right. So we debunk that. But ultimately, if they're young, it's great because it gives them a foundation to start building upon. If they're already in a career and thinking about a different career, it's a great time. I do a lot of behavioral career coaching with people who just go out there and put resumes all over the place. And people will be like, are you going to help me make my resume? I'm like, absolutely not. That's not what I could do that. But there's so much needs to happen before you even make your resume, which is, do you even know what you're supposed to be doing? And don't apply for jobs you don't intend to get.
Right. Just because you have a skill set in something, do you want to do that something?
Exactly. Right. So, and just because you have a job doesn't mean you know how to get one. So there's a whole behavioral component to finding the right position that many people don't have the data to use to go about doing that process. So that's helpful. Obviously, business choice and understanding what you're wired to do in your business and what you are not, and where the gaps are. Yeah. Because ideally, just because you're a business owner, yes, we have to wear all the hats because we have to, but that's why we're better at certain things than others. That's why we stall on certain things and we focus on this. So I can help you identify as an entrepreneur where you sit in these different areas. So then you know who to hire or who to outsource to or
That's a great
whatever, because you don't need to be doing all the things, even if you have to do them. But if you do have to do them, I can give you peace around why certain things are so challenging for you. So you can stop beating yourself up over it and going, why can't I? Well, because you're not wired for that. Yeah. So let's find a way to give you the space. Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. I'm extremely spontaneous, creative. I'm abstract. I'm daring. I focus on results more than relationships, which many people surprised about that. They're like, what? But yeah, I'm about getting it done. And my kryptonite is structure. I don't like it. I don't like doing the same thing twice the same way. I don't like the rows in the columns. I want freedom. freedom to do whatever I want, when I want, how I want, whatever. So I embody that. That's helpful in certain areas, not so helpful in others. Yeah. Okay. So in the areas it's not helpful, either I need to bring someone in, like Rochelle Polton, she's my strategist friend, but also, my business bestie and everything. She's a fractional COO. That ain't my jam, at all. That's her jam. So I bring someone like her in to help me with that kind of stuff, or to help my clients who ask me about the guidance. I'm like, let me call Rochelle. Don't even talk to me about all those things you just said, right? I'm not interested. I want to help. I want to deal with the people component, right? She wants to come in and do the things to make the revenue go up and build the systems. And I'm like, can someone just build me a system, please? Because that's not my natural space. So if someone like me, I can't always hire everyone for all the things I have to do. I got to figure out my way to not have my weakness be so overwhelming for me, not have my kryptonite destroy me, right? Like it's going to be there, but I don't want it to destroy me. So one of the things that I have implemented since April 2018, my business probably wouldn't even be here without it, is the 12-week year. I live on a 12-week year process. If you haven't heard about it, look that up. The 12-week year is a book written by Brian Moran, and it's an operating system, really, a system of execution to teach a person to do more in 12 months than most people do in more in 12 weeks than most people do in 12 months. Wow. So it's a way of thinking and organizing yourself to accomplish what you want to do, but it's a very specific process. I've been living on a 12-week year cycle since April 2018. I've been in a mastermind for every 12 weeks, we reset. And when I say 12 weeks, I'm not saying 4 quarters out of a year. I'm saying 12 weeks is a year. Every week is a month. And if you thought that way, that every week was a month, you would go very differently about how you handle your days and your hours, right? Yeah. And so something like that gives a person like me a framework and the structure that I need to compensate for my spontaneity and that, right? But even still, because I am who I am, I do a 12-week year very different than someone else would do a 12-week year. So when I realized that behaviorally, I started teaching the 12-week year because I still live it, right? And I added behavior to it. So I do behavioral masterminds. I've done 9 of them so far, 9 12-week sessions, and where I teach people how to go through a 12-week year process behaviorally. And someone like Rochelle went through my 12-week process, and she was a strategist, right? So first off, you would think, why would she even need that? That's what I thought when she joined it. I'm like, you don't need this. You already do this. And she goes, no, she's like, I feel like there's something more I can learn here. Yeah. So she went through my 12-week year process. She ran circles around all of us, this group training, because she's already wired to process information in that way and do things. So it just amplified what she was already capable of doing, to where like she did one session and she came back for one more session, and she came to me, she's like, I don't think I need to come back for any more sessions. I'm like, no, you don't. In the time you were in the 12-week year, I think you opened 3 more law firms. Oh, you got your commercial real estate thing. You found a time for date night, all these different things. I'm like, you made us all look bad. You know what I'm saying? Because she just Tetrised it all. Like this is how her brain works, right? I'm sitting back impressed, like, dang, But again, someone like me, that's my kryptonite. So again, I made a decision, though, to figure out, I don't want it to just live in the kryptonite space. What can I do? It's like with the impatience thing, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, with my lack of systemized way of processing and thinking, the 12-week year concept and living that way and resetting every 12 weeks helps keep me organized and knowing, Kenyatta, you can't do everything this 12 weeks. That might be a next 12-week thing, or even 2 12-week things from now. But what are you focused on in this 12 weeks that you need to get done, that we measure, that we hold ourselves accountable to it? And I have the clarity about what's important to me and my behavioral aspirational vision. Like I know I rewrite that thing every 12 weeks. So I'm never so far off course. And one of the last things I'll mention about the 12-week process is so great is that, you know, everyone at the beginning of every year, they do their thing. You know, it's 2025. We're going to do all this stuff. Well, it's November and you haven't done it yet. That's that happens all the time.
I know. I don't know why people feel like they have to wait for a new year. It's like it's a new day every day.
Every day. It's like Monday.
It's a new hour. It's a new minute.
It's a new minute. And so 12-week year really gets you thinking that way. Like, hey, what are you waiting for, right? So, but to come up with a time frame to get something really important done for your life, 12 weeks is great because it's long enough to really make an impact if you stay on track. But it's short enough to course correct if whatever your plan was isn't working. And either because you're not doing it, like you came up with a plan and you're still not doing it, or you are doing it, but you aren't getting the results you thought. Well, because you reevaluate so frequently during that 12-week process, you can tweak the plan and enough to still create success closer to where you would have been if you were saying, well, I'll do that same thing over a 12-month year. That's too long. There's no, it's just too long. You've already distracted yourself with 18 million other things. So we just compress it, and that is how you can figure out from the behavioral data what is difficult for you, but not impossible for you to affect. You need the data to know that. And when I saw, Kenyatta, you're really, really spontaneous. Rochelle says, she's like, Kenyatta, you're like the kite up there flying around in the wind. Like you need that. She's like, but I'm the string, or I'm holding the string on the ground. She's like, so do your thing up there. But
I'll keep you grounded.
I'll keep you grounded because that's her superpower. It's like, that's a great idea, Kenyatta, but how are you really going to execute that? And I'm like, I don't know. We're just going to make it happen. And she's like, no, actually, we need like a plan. And I'm like, all right. You know what I mean? So have those people in your life as a business owner, I guess is the point of the story, is like realize the things you're built to do and do that as much as you can. The things that you aren't, don't beat yourself up because you aren't, but kind of make a decision. How do I fill that gap? Is it with a person or is it with something I need to learn? I don't know.
But first things first is you need to know what is your superpower.
Yes.
What is your kryptonite?
Yes.
So obviously I knew this was going to be chock full of information.
Oh my God.
And
We've been
such
talking.
an amazing episode. And so everyone, please take a look at, Kenyatta's offer. She has an amazing assessment. She has amazing workshops that she's doing all the time. And so we'll have all the social media links at the bottom of the Tales with Taylor page. And so connect with Kenyatta. Let's bring it up to 100 followers by the end of this.
Yes.
Have 100 followers. So thank you so very much. Learn what your superpower is, learn what your kryptonite is, and then learn how to harness it and use it to benefit your life and your business.
Yes.
So thank you again, Kenyatta. Any one final tip you would tell the audience to do?
I have a phrase called behavioral harmony. And my final tip is I encourage you to find your behavioral harmony. So when you learn your behavioral style, find harmony in that. Like do what it is that you're built to do and find a way to build it into your life to where there's no separation between life and career or life and business or personal and business. Like I talk to a lot of people who are really working hard to keep these things separate.
That work-life balance.
Yeah, there is no balance. Balance means it's stagnant and you're not moving anyway. Instead, think of intentional imbalance. Like a counterbalancing, like, sometimes you got to spend more time here and sometimes you got to spend more time here. Figure out what that is because that's where harmony comes in. I'm a coach, a speaker, a trainer. I coach executives, corporate, state agencies, but I also work with individuals. I love creating stages for people to share their messages on, but I'm a drummer. I'm a bass player. I'm a singer. I'm a DJ.
I know we didn't even get a chance to tap into that. So
DJ Kenyattasaurus Rex, look me up. But I know what I'm built to do, and I'm a creative, but I'm also all these other things. So I found behavioral harmony, meaning I find ways to do all those parts of me. I don't have to give any one of them up because I'm comfortable and confident in my own skin. That's what you get when you learn your behavioral superpowers and you unleash them. You don't have to hide those things. Now you just got to be smart about how to bring them all into your life so that you are in behavioral harmony. That's what I want for everyone. So that's my little hashtag, as well as behavior matters, behavioral harmony. Thank you, Taylor.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing about your superpowers. Put them in the comments. What's your superpower? And until next time.
All right. Peace out.
Thank you for watching Tales with Taylor. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Financial Potion YouTube channel to never miss an episode.